Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Soucast. It's me, Naisou, and today is a very special episode. It's been a while, actually, since I've been able to get a Soucast, either the video format, even YouTube video, or, audio out here. And it's just been a ton of stuff going on. And I think I kind of talked about this. If you guys joined me on YouTube during the MSC live streams, the restreams that I was doing, kind of some of the stuff that was coming up, specifically with the podcast, with the Soucast, and that's kind of something I want to talk about. But other than that, the other thing that maybe some of you guys don't really know, it's our birthday, right? For the Soucast, not mine specifically, but it's the Soucast's 1 year. I'm off by, maybe a couple days. It was basically this week, right? Got the notification that it's been 1 year, and that kind of blew my mind. That it's been 1 year that I started doing, the Soucast and just kind of throwing episodes up there, here and there, and kind of the evolution that it's gone through as well. And I've kind of treated it as almost like a training grounds, especially the earlier episodes, right? But it's just kind of amazing that it's been 1 year already. Now, the initial goal, I would say I didn't necessarily hit at least one of them. I hit another one, but I kind of just want to take you guys through some reflections after 1 year of the podcast, how I feel personally about it, plans for it in the future. I should say the near future, by the way, because there's some things to talk about there too. And just overall, I am thankful, of course, for everybody that's listened. I have even been surprised at the reception of it up to this point. And, I know that podcasts really are a marathon, like most content, and it's just going to take time for it to continue to grow. And in the 1 year that it's grown, I'm so happy about it. So I just want to talk about that today. And, I've got my coffee here. Hope you guys have your coffees if you're listening in the morning or maybe the afternoon. If you're like me, coffee's an anytime drink, right? So sit back and enjoy. Now, first off, I do want to go ahead and just say that, again, reflecting on all of this, I can't believe it's been a year. It's kind of flown by, and in that year, if you guys are curious, because I know some of you might be wondering this, maybe some of you also are thinking about starting a podcast, or you're content creators yourselves, and you've been interested in it. And I honestly feel like a lot of people should have, if you're a content creator, or even if you're not currently one, podcasting's great. And I feel like it's still catching up here in the Philippines. It's definitely, grown over the past, I would say, maybe 2 years, maybe more. But podcasting is definitely catching up here in the Philippines. And I think that's a great thing because there's a lot out there for, people to offer basically through their podcast. And so just for the analytics, right? Because I know some people are curious and some people have even personally asked me recently, how does a podcast perform? And again, it's on two, right now I think it's on two platforms. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Majority listening on Spotify is the major one. So if you guys were curious, just in a year's time, after, let's see, I think this is the 29th episode. This 1 year anniversary episode is the 29th, which means that, yes, my initial goal of hitting an episode a week was not accomplished. So, that's one of my goals for year two is let me get at least an episode out every week. But then again, too, there is going to be a kind of a different thing going on with the Soucast, and I'll share that with you guys later. But overall, in 1 year, in about 29 episodes, the Soucast has been played over 7,000 times. So that's, a specific person playing it, unique person, I should say. And it's from all over the world. It looks like, too, if you guys were curious again, about 70% of the listeners are on Spotify. And the other group is, it's like 20%. I think 20% is on Apple, and then the others listen on the web browser. And so, that's interesting. And then at the same time, podcast listeners obviously mostly come from the Philippines. There's also multiple other countries that listen, and that includes the US, Singapore, Germany, Japan, Malaysia, Ireland, Canada, Australia, Indonesia, United Kingdom, France, Thailand's there, India, South Korea, Cambodia, Italy, Myanmar, Bahrain, Belgium, Croatia, China, and the UAE. And, interestingly enough, too, we've got a split of it's about 60% male, 40% female. Age ranges are, young adults and up to adults. And so those are just interesting things. The reason why I say that and I share this is because, in a year's time, it really depends on how you interpret your statistics. And a lot of people kind of get lost in the numbers. If you guys have been creating content, and I know most people listening to this have, regardless of who you are, if you're actually like a content creator, full-time content creator or something, all of us make stories, all of us make reels, all of us make TikToks or something of some sort, right? I would say maybe not all of us. I don't want to say all, but majority of us do. And so people always look, how many views did I get? How many likes did I get? And that's kind of become a thing, right? But, so creating a podcast, it can get really exciting early on, but you got to keep that consistency going, which a lot of people struggle with, because I think some of the most successful podcasts, they find their success, after 2, 3, 4 years, maybe, so how do you stay consistent and dedicated to something that long? Well, a lot of people can't do that. But the ones that do usually are some form or another find success later on. And, that's what I'm hoping here. So just after looking back at the first year, and again, it wasn't an episode per week, I should have had 50 plus episodes, right? So I got about halfway. I would say, I got about halfway there. And I'm rather happy when I go back and look at these analytics, because to be honest, I am not one of those people that goes and just looks at analytics every single day that I post something. I'm just, I'm doing too many things that I don't want to keep up with all the numbers and details like that, right? So with this, again, I haven't really looked back on the podcast alone much. Sometimes I might look at it once a month. Sometimes I might not look at it at all for a couple months. There was a period in time where I didn't look at it at all for maybe 2, 3 months because I was so busy on other things. So for me on this episode with you guys listening here, to look back on these numbers and be like, okay, well, after about a year, we accomplished this many things. It's actually kind of crazy to see what that accomplishment is over that year period. For me, hey, 7,000 total plays on multiple platforms. Again, I had to switch hosting websites too. I don't want to get too complicated there, but to have all that, plays per episode ranged anywhere from like 50 to 100, which I was really happy about. Spotify has, over 100 dedicated followers, and I think people just kind of tune in here and there. And so, knowing this information in the first year is really, I would say it's humbling. It's also heartwarming. It's nice to know that there are people even from other countries and stuff that are listening. And hopefully, it provides value to them in some way or another. A lot of these episodes in the past, have just been me talking about personal things, or, even back with, I think I started even with like MPL, talking about MPL. I think I started season 10 talking about the MPL on the podcast. And some of those MPL episodes have some of the highest view counts, or play counts. I think it was back in MPL week 4 of like season 10 or something, had like an insane amount of downloads, and I'm not even sure why, and I can't even remember what happened during week 4. But also just the fact that you can see like the trend of people just kind of listening from episode to episode. That has been very, again, insightful for me and heartwarming to know that people do find it interesting in some form or another. I also tested out a video format, the previous one where I talked about MSC group stage analysis and knockout predictions. That had a relatively good amount of plays as well here, and then on, of course, YouTube. So again, it's been great, and I just I can't thank you guys enough. If you're listening to this episode too, thank you guys for supporting the Soucast, and just it's kind of heartwarming for me to see the analytics over the past year. Now, for me, again, trying to figure out how to do this. And it's relatively easy. So if anyone is interested in starting a podcast, and I think the biggest thing would probably be equipment, right? Because podcast is primarily audio, so you need like a good audio setup. But I've had quite a few people actually message me after listening to the Soucast asking about how to start their own podcast, but I'm not going to go into that too much in this episode, but maybe in the future. And moreover, I just wanted to say, thank you guys for listening. Anyone that's pretty much supported the podcast, the Soucast up to this point, it's really helped me learn exactly what I want to do going forward in the second year. And I'm so excited knowing kind of what's going on behind the scenes right now to kind of upgrade and uplift this podcast, the Soucast, right? So I don't think I can share exactly everything. But what I can tell you guys is for the second year of the Soucast, we are going into a different, I don't want to say different direction. I mean, it's a little bit of a different direction, but not entirely. And what I mean is we're going towards the pretty much video format, like most of the podcasts you guys probably see online. And, it's great too, by the way, that Spotify has like the capability to show video podcasts now. It doesn't just have to be audio. So you can upload a video to Spotify as a podcast, and then it's up to the listener to choose like, hey, do I want to watch the video or do I just want to listen to the audio? I think that's in the settings or something like that. So in terms of upgrading the Soucast, one of the great things about this is we're going to take it to video format. Not only video format, but we are going to be in a studio setup. I won't announce any of that just yet, like specifically studio and whatnot, but we will officially be partnering with a studio that will allow me to bring the Soucast as a show. It's not going to be a live show. I prefer it to be like a pre-recorded thing, so I can do editing and whatnot as well. But it's going to be a studio recorded show, and we'll have like a setup. We got to figure out, that's kind of in the process of what I'm doing is like figuring out the setup, the layout, the brand colors, all that stuff. Really trying to make it look as Naisou as possible, but also the different factor there is we're going to have guests now. So every episode we're going to have a guest, and that is something that I've been wanting to do for so long. It's just, again, I spent this year like really trying to figure out my style and exactly how to be a podcast host in a way, right? Even though it was just me, even though there's solo episodes, right? But that's something I've been working on this past year. And so what we're going to be doing is pretty much having a one-on-one conversation. And you guys have probably seen this, with multiple podcasts. If you guys watch or listen to podcasts, you see this a lot, like different podcasts around the world, like the Joe Rogan show. Sometimes it's one-on-one. The Logan Paul show. There's another podcast called Full Send. Of course, then you have podcasts here in the Philippines too, that I've been watching as well, which I think it's great. Again, I think it's great that the Philippines is catching up and really pushing through with podcast type shows. It's just, again, it's like Tagalog shoutcasting versus English shoutcasting. It's a different execution. It's a different humor. It's a different, there's a whole different cultural aspect to it, which I could not do properly if I was trying to do Tagalog, like a full Tagalog podcast hosting style. You know what I mean? So mine is going to be a show here interviewing different people or having guests of different people from different walks of life, different niches, different professions from here in the Philippines. And, if we have people that end up visiting to the Philippines and somehow I can get them as guests in the future, that'd be great too. But it's going to primarily be in English. I'll probably have to pull out some Tagalog here and there. But, it's going to primarily be in English, especially for the fact that, we have a lot of listeners from across the world, even though, 60% were in the Philippines, something like that. But the other 40% are all from, different parts of the world, basically. So, I'm super excited about that because, interviewing people and just sitting down with people and having a conversation is something that I really enjoy doing. And it kind of goes back to, if you guys didn't know, again, if you listen to the first couple episodes here in the Soucast, I talk about my time as like a teacher and whatnot. But that's the thing. When I was teaching in special education, I loved the part of getting on an interpersonal level with not only the students, of course, working with them, but also the process of getting to know the parents or the guardians, the other therapists, the doctors, because again, as the special education teacher for a lot of these students, a lot of these individuals, I was the head to take all the information from all the other therapists, the doctors, and the parents, and my evaluations and observations to the student, and then create an IEP. It was, an individual plan, basically. And through that, you do a lot of talking, you do a lot of interviewing, you do a lot of conversations. Some are informal, some are formal. And so it's something that I worked on and honed in, I guess, for the course of maybe 5 years in total, counting, college practice and whatnot. And so it's something that I've always wanted to do. Now, shoutcasting in esports is completely different from that, right? You're shoutcasting over a game. I would say you're on, like in terms of you have to flip this performance switch when you're shoutcasting. But for, interviews, I guess you're still a host, a podcast host, and you're interviewing a guest. It's more like a conversation, you know what I mean? And you get to really engage with that guest, with that person. And naturally too, I've been such a curious person. And I think that's something that really makes a good podcast host or interviewer is that innate curiosity, basically. And so, these podcasts, they can go quite long and everything when you have a guest, and, you don't have to be on. I feel like that's the biggest thing. Like, your on switch doesn't have to be completely on. Like if you're performing for a shoutcasting gig or something like that, or you see the content creators out there creating ads for certain games and whatnot. Like if you listen to these long podcasts, they sound just like a normal conversation. You know what I mean? Like and that's something that I really look forward to, is just kind of sitting down with whoever it is across from me and having a conversation with that person and learning from them. And I think that's something that I really appreciate. For example, like the Joe Rogan podcast, man, he talks to different people from everywhere. And it is so nice to kind of just listen to two people like talk about something that you may not even know too much about. You know what I mean? And here in the Philippines specifically, there is a ton of people that are just, they don't know certain things, right? I mean, they're not, there's certain niches and that people don't really know about. And there's other niches where people know a lot about, but they want to know more on a personal level. And I feel like that's something that I really want to dig into. I want to bring out in my guests. And, again, as someone who was in that field of special education and going from there, and at the same time, another career that I actually almost went into was basically therapy, like a therapist. Again, because I just loved talking, and getting to know kind of the details and making people feel comfortable enough to talk about that. So I'm hoping that that's what the podcast can produce, for you guys, for the listeners out there, is more of like an intimate conversation with these people from various places, and to get to know some of their success stories, some of their challenges that they've been through that led them to where they are. And of course, like their personal stories and stuff like that, that to me is very interesting, especially again, for fields that maybe I'm not 100% aware of or in the know of and would like to know more of. Because again, my kind of saying that I live by, even as an educator before, is like education never stops. The pursuit of knowledge basically never stops. I don't even know if I heard that somewhere or what, but I resonate with that saying, that you never stop learning. And if you ever feel like you are at that point in life where you've stopped learning or whatever, then you're kind of doing something wrong, because there's always something to learn about or improve on and kind of discover out there. If you're living life and you're not kind of going through that, and podcasts are one of the best ways to do that. That's why a lot of people love audiobooks, because they can get through various contents and books wise through audio, right? Well, podcast is similar because you can just listen to someone interview another person that's an expert in their field or has found success in their field or, gone through certain things in life. And you can learn just from listening to that conversation. So that is pretty much what I really want to focus on is, again, getting into the deeper level of conversations with my guests and not just staying on the shallow end. So I guess that's in a nutshell of where the Soucast is going. I can't necessarily announce too much of the details just yet. I just kind of want to give an overview, especially because that is where the second year of, after talking about this whole 1 year anniversary, like the second year, that's where we're planning to go with the Soucast. Now, I would love for it to be, every week we got a guest, we're recording, but I know that once we get things set up and executed, it probably will take a couple episodes or two to kind of really feel it out and get the setting, you know what I mean? Because just like we did when we were doing just audio stuff, it's going to be the same as video. I'm sure there'll be some mistakes here and there, and we'll have to troubleshoot some stuff, but overall, my intention is to really just keep the Soucast that way. Once we get to the studio, once we get to the video format, I want to keep it that way. The only way that would change is, for example, if I'm out of the country, obviously, and I want to get an episode out, and then I do it in an audio format. But that's something you guys can look forward to. I hope, it will be posted, of course, still here on Apple and Spotify and other channels. I think it'll be even up on the studio I'm partnering with will be on Facebook. They'll use it there. I will also be uploading it to a YouTube channel. So it'll be in plenty of places for you guys to watch and listen to. But I can't wait to get this thing going, because if you guys have been following me too, like on Twitter and whatnot, I tweeted the day that I had the meeting and I pitched it. I was like, to be honest, I was kind of worried, because I was pitching this whole idea. I made up this whole presentation and I was pitching the idea to like 10 people in a room, guys. Like it was like a boardroom, and we had like big people in there and stuff, and they've got big partnerships and whatnot. I was just like, all right, here we go, and I pitched the Soucast, and they loved it. So that was amazing for me to see that reception again on that side, and to kind of have these pieces fall into place for something that's been, I guess, a dream of mine. Like this has been, I would say it's like a low key dream of mine to have a podcast show. Because I loved watching and listening to them for so many years that I've always been like, man, I would love to have a platform like that. And so things are kind of falling into place. And although, let's say, it might not be a success overnight, and it never is, it's something that I'm very passionate about and want to continue building forward. Hopefully it's a thing that I can do for years and years to come. But right now, just like everything, I really focus on what's in front of me. And what's in front of me for the Soucast is, one, getting it all together, set up properly, and then executing that first season, because we're going to break it up into seasons. So there will be that first season. First season is probably going to be like 10 episodes. So that'll be about 10 weeks, guys, with 10 different guests. And we'll have to see how it does again, because this is like a bigger thing now, right? So I also have to prove in a way that this is worth continuing going for season 2, season 3, you know what I mean? And but initially we're doing the first season, which is about 10 episodes, 10 weeks, 10 guests, and hopefully from there, the proof is in the pudding, and we can make everybody happy, myself included, and just have a good time, you know what I mean? And that's the thing too, is I always say, like, even when in the presentation, I had to tell them, like, with podcasts and stuff, it's not always about like the view count and the play count or whatever, because podcasts kind of work differently too. Like, where over time they really grow, and it's weird that it's that way. The trend is that way, because I'm looking at my own. Like, my first couple episodes probably had like five listens, you know what I mean? And then as I continued uploading, they started gaining traction. And then it even stopped for a little bit. But then I continued them after taking a break. And then it gets to the point where, because it's like a playlist, right? Like someone will find your podcast, they'll listen to the latest episode maybe, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I kind of like this guy. And then, or girl, and then they'll like go listen to the rest of the episodes, or they'll binge listen to the episodes, or you know what I mean? So that kind of trend happens. And I think even in terms of a video format for the Soucast, something like that can happen, you know? So, again, my focus right now is that first season, getting it through, getting it done as, you know, up to my standard, and everybody else's is standard. Again, they don't really, I will say that the people that I'm partnering with are really great, very supportive, and they're allowing me to just pretty much have leeway in terms of like freedom to do what I want with the show. So that's great. And again, so I'm in a position now where I'm kind of like producing my own show. So there's a whole other plethora of things to take care of, you know, rather than just sitting here like I've been doing for the past 28 episodes in my chair at home in front of my computer with my microphone. You know what I mean? So it's a lot bigger thing to take care of. So again, you know, with me focusing on that right now, it's a little bit harder to focus on other things. For example, that's why nothing has been up on YouTube lately, or there hasn't been streams just yet. But I do just want to give thanks to everybody that's supported me once again up to this point. Every supporter from the streaming days, from casting, from listening to this podcast, even on YouTube, you guys really, really allow me to get to where I am today. And even with this dream coming true for the Soucast. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to end it here. I just wanted to kind of reflect here on the past year with the Soucast and where it's going forward. And I hope you guys enjoy what's in store and kind of the upgraded version of the Soucast. I'll start launching like official marketing stuff for it probably next month, sometime in July, if we can, if that's enough time. If not July, then probably sometime in August. But right now the target's July, end of July. So let's hope all goes well. All right, but you guys enjoy the rest of your day, your evenings, your mornings, whichever it is. Thank you guys so much again. Don't forget, help me out. Follow the podcast, give it a rating, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Alrighty. Till then, take care.